Hi guys, how are you all today? I was trying to get something done for you before we started, but it's still stitching away back there. It's actually what we're going to do today, but evidently it ran out of bobbin thread. Darn it! So you're not going to get to see it. Well, I'll rethread the bobbin here in a minute. Good to see you all. Glad you could join me today. Hopefully everybody is doing well, and give me a thumbs up if you can hear me and say where you are from. Good to see you guys. So you're working on your education challenge. Sweet. I was cracking up. Caroline has hers done. I knew she would. She is the on top of her thing. She is the fastest sewer I know, I do believe. You're long arming, then you're going to cook some dinner, Phil, and cool beans. It is a bit warmer today here as well. So it's warmed up from in the early 60s to the 70s this afternoon. It's nice and humid out there today. But I'm telling you guys, I was trying to get this done, and I cannot tell you. Let's see here. I think I have broken 6 needles today, or 7. Maybe 8. Every time I turn around, I'm breaking a needle. Today is needle break day, email's not working day. Let's see what all can go wrong and explode. I didn't even get a chance to change my clothes to come on to look a little bit more professional. So y'all are getting to see me in my comfy coats. So good to see you all, and let's get started. So what I thought we would do is have a little bit of Easter fun, but this also will go for anything else. But I found a project in Canvas Workspace that I thought would be fun to recreate in BES or PE-DESIGN or BESBLUE or simply Appliqué. Okay, we could do this in all 3 of them, all 4 of them. So just keep that in mind. We're going to start here in Canvas Workspace. And yes, I am here just with my friends. But you never know who's Big Brother may be watching. I did get a little bit of makeup on, which I don't normally wear at home. So anyhow, let's go ahead and flip over. And when I flip over to share my screen here, I am going to go thread my, put a bobbin in. So hold tight for just a second so that this can finish up, because I really want you all to see it. I think it will be absolutely cute as it can be when it's done. But it does have to have bobbin thread in order to make that happen. And if I hadn't decided to do 2 of them instead of just 1, then we would be done by now. So hold it tight for just a second so I can get this bad boy running again, so you guys get to see it at the end. The grand reveal. So what you're going to do first is in the search menu on the Canvas Workspace, you are going to choose to search for rabbits. And that bobbin thread, I can't find the end of it. Well, there we go. There's a good one. Okay. Let's see here. Let me tie off and get started again, and then we'll go. Now, hopefully we don't break another needle. All right, so what we're going to do in our search bar here, instead of searching for bunny, we're going to search for rabbit. Don't know why they decided rabbit instead of bunny, but rabbit is what we're going for. And this is what I picked. So this is quite fun. And you can do it as an Easter egg holder if you want. But I decided it would be more fun as a napkin ring. So that's what we're going for. I'm going to show you what our end result is. Let me open up a recent here. Here's my bunny. So this is what we're going for. Okay. And we start by putting it together over here in Canvas Workspace. The first thing that I need to do, though, is I don't want the little cutouts, because I'm going to use Velcro instead. You could do these as paper if you wanted instead, but I'm going to embroider them and make them into a napkin ring. So there's my base bunny, and I'm going to come in and put his nose in, but we're going to send him to the back. So I'm going to right mouse click on the bunny and say arrange, send to back, because I want to be able to place these on top so I know where they are. And let's see what this nose will do for us. There we go. And let's grab both of the eyes at the same time and bring them over. And then put our bow down here. And then let's put his two little eyeballs in. So to get those two little eyeballs in, I need to zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to grab those and drag them in here. And if you want, you can move them the way you want. You could make them roll in his eyes. You could do whatever you want. You could make a different expression for each one. That is up to you, okay? So let's see here. I moved my nose up to where it was at the very top. And let me grab these two items and move them down just a little bit. There we go. So I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. How about you guys? What do you think? So that's what we're going to start with. That is our base FCM file that we're going to start with. And as you've heard me say a gazillion times, don't take the artwork for just what it says. I am using my Luminaire back in the background today, just simply because that's the one I was working on. So we're going to have, that's what I could get 2 in the hoop, and I went with that. I can actually probably do 2 on my multi-needle as well, but I did not. I would have to move something to get to it today, so I went this way. I've been actually trying to get my cube done. So for next, well, it's supposed to be next week's Brother Sews, but I've switched with Emily because I'll be out of town. So both keep that in mind. Both Heather and I will be gone next week, so I will not be having a live next week. And I will not be on Brother Sews Live. I will be on theirs the next week. Okay. So, hi, Marcia. Good to see you guys. So, all right, let's go over to BES4. Okay. If you have BESBLUE, it is going to be the same process. If you have simply Appliqué, it's going to be the exact same process. All right. I'm going to do BES4 because I have some other tools I can play with there. So the first thing I need to do is export this file. So we're going to say export transfer FCM, export FCM, and we're going to call this, let me go put it in my Facebook Live files down here. Oops. And we'll call this Rabbit. All right. So there we go. Now let's go over to our BES4 software. And I'm going to do new page so that we can start fresh here. So we're going to go up to the application button, and I'm going to choose import. And since I have all power packs, mine says import artwork. Yours may only say import FCM. That is okay. You're going to choose import FCM, and I am going to choose my rabbit. There he is. We'll click open. Whoa, something happened. Wow, did something happen? Okay, I'm stopping at this point, and I'll back up, and I can show you what I've got done, but I've got something going on. My bobbin thread decided to do something funky. So I'm going to show you what he looks like before we get on in further. So this is what he's going to look like, all right? You can make him whatever color you want. I went with white today, but my second one decided to mess up, so I'm just going to kind of, you know, Lulu has her own personality. Yes, that's what I've named mine, because sometimes she loses her mind. And if I'm not paying attention, she decides she's an angry girl. So sometimes we like to have more attention, kind of like a dog. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, okay, I already know here that I do not like where that is. So I'm going to put it where I want it. I can see it a little bit clearer here. I'm in the middle. That looks pretty good. Okay. The only part of this, there are actually 2 parts that I want to convert to Appliqué, the bow and the rabbit itself. So I'm going to grab those 2 in my sequence view window, go to my tools tab, and say convert to Appliqué. So those 2 have now been converted to Appliqué. All right. Now, I wanted the outline, the width of this one to be 4. So I made it a little bit wider because I knew I was going to make it an in the hoop project, that I was going to have an outside edge that I wanted to be just a little bit bigger. So I also, since it's going to be an in the hoop project, I wanted to make sure that my fabric went to the edge of my stitch. So what I did was I went to my inset percentage, and I want you all to watch. I changed this to 85%, and I clicked apply. Now you'll notice that the actual shape itself looks like it got smaller. It didn't. That outline is still the same, but my overall guide got just a little bit smaller simply because that satin stitch is so wide. So if you want, you can make it just a little bit bigger. And I'm going to make mine just a little bit bigger. I'm going to transform that to about 165 and apply. And then I'm going to make my bow just a little bit smaller. So that it's not stitching on top of each other. And here's where the fun begins. Because we do not have fill stitches that we can create with a tool, we're going to make some today. And how exactly am I going to do that? Well, y'all have seen me do this before, but not to this extent, okay? So we're going to come add a design, and I'm going to come in here and choose an accent design. And we're going to grab the peeps. You could pick one that's closer to the shape if you wanted to, but my peeps will work just perfectly fine. And now I'm going to kind of delete everything but one of these eyeballs. Oh, I didn't mean to delete them all. Evidently, I got them all. So let's try that again. Here through here. And I'm going to press delete. So now I'm left with one of these shapes. And from that shape, we're going to make everything else out of. Now, you'll notice I'm going to make it bigger. And it's going to tell me, oops, you need to change your stitch type because I'm not going to be able to do that. And you can tell that because it looks funky right there. But if you go to 3D mode, it totally dropped those stitches. So if we change that from satin to a pattern fill of some sort, you're good to go. And I'm going to rotate this guy 90 degrees. And then I'm going to take him in here, and I'm going to go back to working in stitch mode instead of 3D mode because I find it that I can see through the stitches easier. So, I could kind of leave it like this if I wanted to. This would work if I didn't want to play, but I think I want to play a little bit. So let's go to our Tools tab. I'm going to click off of everything, and I'm just going to click on the column fill here and choose Edit Shape. And let's zoom in on this eyeball. So the Edit Shape tool, when I select it, it gives me the nodes around the stitch that I have here. And since it's already a stitch, I'm not having to create a design that has a stitch. I've got one right here with me. And we're just going to kind of adjust this and add points until we get what we want. I'm going to take that down there, move this over here. Let's change that angle a bit there. And I want this to turn a corner, so we're going to right mouse click on it and say cusp. Cusp lets you turn corners. And let's move our little inclination line away and move here, and let's adjust that angle. We're getting close. So I'm going to move my inclination line again and bring this one down here, and that little handle there, I'm going to pull it in, and we're going to once again say cusp. So, well, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to say smooth so I have both of them, and then say cusp so I can see the other side. It may be easier for y'all to see this if I change my color to yellow. There we go. So none of these changes are going to take effect until I actually right mouse click. So you can see how I'm just kind of adjusting the shape of this. Those black lines, the green lines are my start, the green dots are my starts and stops. The black lines are the angle, what they call inclination lines. So let's right mouse click and see what we have. I'm pretty darn close to what I want. So I'm going to right mouse click again and add a point right here. And let's see here. Let's move that one up a bit. Right mouse click, and that looks pretty darn good. So those little lines underneath it, I'm going to get rid of them. There we go. And let's see what that looks like in 3D mode. So here we go. I'm pretty happy with that. How about y'all? So instead of recreating the wheel again, I'm just going to simply copy this and paste it. And I'm going to go to my Arrange tab, and I'm going to flip it and take it and move it over to the opposite side. Oops. Let me undo that. My mouse is a little touchy today. So I'm going to take this and move it to the opposite side. So now we've got two of the backs of the, what do we call them? Not the irises, the whites of the eyes. Now let's grab our peep again, because I forgot to keep an eyeball out by itself. So let me grab my peep one more time. Oh, this one may work. Let's do the owl this time because he's a little bit bigger. All right, mouse click. Sorry, guys. And I'm going to zoom out so I can see what I've got going on. And we're going to get rid of everything besides the eyeballs and the nose. And let's see here. Let's take the eyeballs. And I'm just going to copy that and paste it so I don't lose the original this time. All right. Now we need to make the shape that's the bottom of our nose. And once again, it's telling me I've got something that's too big for a satin, so no worries. We're just going to say random this time and give it a random stitch. I am going to rotate it, and the reason I'm doing that is because that gives me the angles that I think I want. And let's go to our Tools tab and say Edit Shape and zoom in on that little guy. And go back and grab that Edit Shape tool again. Now, I'm going to change its color so you can see this one as well. And we're going to do the same exact thing this time. So I'm going to take this and move it over. Take that and move it over. Come and move this. And it's simply a matter of moving those edit nodes where you think you want your stitches, where you want your path to go. So we're basically just defining the path. It's as if we were drawing it ourselves, but we don't have the tools that will allow us to convert this to a fill stitch. So this is our cheater's way of getting around that. Sometimes it's a little work, but where there's a will, there's a way. And this gives us that way. So let me look through this. Let's go and turn off 3D mode so we can see through it. There we go. Let's add a point right here. And remember, nobody's going to see the original artwork, so they can't critique you on that. Do it how you want to do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And since that nose is cut out anyway, I'm going to go ahead and cut it out. So I'm going to go ahead and add a point right here, so that I don't have to remove the overlaps. Because I found this guy didn't like me to remove overlaps from both the nose and the eyeballs at the same time. Wasn't sure why, but that's what I found today. So there we go. Right mouse click, and now you've got your stitches. So you can see, if we look at this in 3D mode, how those stitches are kind of going, the direction they're going. I think I want to change that angle, which are the black dots here. So if I play with my black dots and right mouse click, notice how that angle changed. That's exactly what I wanted it to do. And there we go. So now I've got my nose, what do we call it? His muzzle. Let me add one more point right here. I did tell you people weren't critiquing you, but I'm critiquing myself. So I'm going to copy this eyeball again, and we're going to paste it. I'm going to take him and undo. I don't need to copy and paste. We're just going to get rid of the nose. and take these eyeballs over. Now I do need to ungroup them, so not necessarily ungroup them, I just need to move one from the other. So let's take this one and move it into place. And I do still need to copy and paste one, because I forgot I need a nose. Now, if you don't want your nose to be the same color, and I want one more, so I'm going to copy it again. Actually, I'm just going to paste again. And we're going to move it down here for the bow tie. Now let's make the center of our nose here. Go to your Tools tab and grab the column part of this, and then choose Edit Shape. If you don't see Edit Shape, then you don't have the column part. I actually wanted to, one more time, rotate it. So let me go Arrange, and I want to rotate it 90 degrees. Oops. I want to go 90 degrees right or left, either one. Tools. Now come back and grab that column, which is right there, and edit the shape. And don't ask me why. I just found that it did better if I rotated it. I'm not sure exactly why, but that's what I found out. So since that's what I figured it works best, that's where we're going with it. It has, every software program has its own peculiarities, and that is one that this one wanted to do today. So when you find something, you just kind of go with it. We're just going to move those little edit nodes. Actually, we don't need that many, so I'm going to delete that one. And I'm going to delete that one. Move that guy right there. Let's delete this one and move this one up. And those little wingy dingies, we need to move them out to where they're a little bit smoother. Right mouse click, and there we have our nose. So let's change its color to a light brown so you can see it. I have a little stitch sticking out, and I know exactly what that is, and we'll take care of that in just a minute. But this one can remain a satin stitch since we rotated it, which is kind of nice. Otherwise, it would not have been able to remain that satin stitch. So let's see here. I'm actually okay with that. I want that to be smooth. There we go. And let me fix my inclination line, and we'll get rid of that little dot underneath it. Okay, that's its tie off, but your machine is going to make it tie off anyway, so you can just get rid of that. I'm good with this one. Let's see if we want to make it a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit. Oh, fiddly-dee, undo. Where's my, there we go. Take it, move it there, and I want the applique color to be color 3. We're going to make it orange. And our base level applique, I'm going to make it a cream color so you can see it. Color 3 is your covering stitch. Now there's one last thing we need to do, because if we stitch it like it is, let's go look and see if we like it. If we stitch it like it is, ooh, that color around that outside is just ugly. How about we make it pink? There we go. Just for visual purposes here. And let's change that nose back to a dark brown. There we go. Okay. So here we go. Now let's come and grab the eyeballs and right mouse click on them, say remove overlapped stitches, so that it will take out the stitching underneath that yellow for his eyes. We'll change those eyes back to the color white, just so you can see. And that is where we're at. How did I get that? Is a stray stitch that is very weird. So let's undo that remove overlaps and see if I do just one at a time. Sometimes unexpected results happen when you do things like that. And I'll show you a workaround. So that one worked. Let's see if we do the same thing here. So you can see how it's canceling out my other one. That drives me nuts, and I'm not real sure why it does that. Now let's see if I got stray funky stitches. I did. So I'm going to show you a workaround. When you can't get remove overlaps to work like you want it to do, there is another way you can do this. And since we have this one, we're going to say edit shape. We're going to right mouse click on it on an edit node and say, where'd that go? Hold on. I got it to work earlier, so I'm trying to figure out what I did wrong here. So let me come edit shape tool, right mouse click. We don't want to add, edit outlines. And let's see here, edit. Okay, we'll try one other thing. All right, guys, it's not going to let me do it today. That's very weird. Usually it lets me add a hole. And it is not. So it's not liking something about these two items together. Not real sure why. Will it kill your project to stitch it this way? No, it will not. But we can actually, if we move this eyeball to that one. So I've got to grab these pieces here and move them over. We could do the same thing that I did with the other one, since we can't make this one do what we want it to do, and edit the shape, and then just come in here and add a point and move it around. I'm going to add another point right here. Sometimes the results, you got to be willing to play to get what you want sometimes, which is what I'm having to do here. Not a big deal. It just is not liking those today for me to remove overlaps from everything at the same time. So there we go. Let's change our stitch direction. Let's come up here and let's add an inclination and see if that works. Well, that is weird. So what I thought we were going to get is not what we're getting, because I picked the owl eyes instead of the nose of the eyes of the other, which is very bizarre. Okay. So we're going to undo back and stitch it on top. Sometimes it's just not worth fighting the battle. And that's what I've decided today. We'll leave it just like it is and go forth and multiply. There we go. So now it is back to the beginning and we're good. So when you are done, we're not worried about the artwork. So we're going to get rid of our artwork that's behind here in our sequence view window. We don't need that. But we do need to send artwork to our scan and cut machine. We're going to press the scan and cut key. There's our artwork. And if you want to make sure that it's going to be exactly where you want it to be, remember we added that offset. We basically bumped our inset percentage. And so you'll notice that it's going right to that outside edge. Let me change that color to dark pink so you can see it's going right to that outside edge, which will make that perfect. Okay. And I could, but it's going to be going the opposite direction. So we could try that if you want me to try that. Let's see here. Which eyeball is it? So it's this one I want to get rid of. I'm always willing to try, and I want to get rid of that one. So we can copy and paste. Undo. Or actually that'll work. So let me mirror it. Actually, no, I can't mirror because then the eyeball is going to be floating the opposite direction. Yeah, you just are going to need to adjust the shape. And when we adjust the shape, it's going to mess it up. So no, it's not worth it. it will not kill your project to stitch over it, I promise. Oh, I keep hitting redo. Okay. And we could sit here for days and me could try to figure out if we could make it work or not. But, you know, Marcia, I haven't had, I haven't run into the issue where I can't undo enough. So that has worked for me all the time. Anyhow, okay. Any other questions? Cindy, I would have to go look and see what sections of my workbook would help you with that part. I know there are sections in it that do. I'm really surprised I can't add the whole today. That is just weird. So it has something to do with whichever design I picked, I'm sure. I'm absolutely positive of this. So now that we've done it here, let's go look in PE-DESIGN and see how we're able to do it. Okay. So PE-DESIGN, you have more control over. We're not going to have to basically do workarounds. We can do what we want to do. So I'm going to come grab a 200 by 200 frame, and I'm going to my scan and cut button, and we're going to choose import. And let's see here, we're going to come grab and see Facebook Live files, and we're hunting for the rabbit, right? There he is. So we'll just import him. So you'll notice he comes in stitch format already, which is a wonderful thing because that means you don't have to draw it yourself. Okay. So we're going to right mouse click here and we're going to ungroup. Once again, I'm going to kind of move my bow. I'm going to pick that up, select it, and I'm going to move it over. And if you want to nudge something, your left arrow key on the keyboard allows you to nudge. Okay. So that allows you to do that little activity. So let's first create our applique out of the rabbit itself. So I'm going to touch the outside of my rabbit. I'm going to choose my applique wizard. I'm going to make my zigzag width 4 millimeters. Don't ask me what that is in inches. I have no idea. If you want, you could increase your density up to about 5. We want it to replace it and not add it. Click OK. So now there is your applique, and the thing about PE-DESIGN is that it automatically pushes that outline to the outer edge. So if you look at it, you see that placement stitch right there. That's what the material that's going to cut. That's the stitch that it will cut. So it automatically bumps it to your outer edge. You don't have to worry about trying to do that yourself. So, oops. Now let's grab our select tool again. And let's grab our nose, and we can select it with the select tool right here. And let's change the fill stitch from not sewn to a fill stitch and pick our color. So let's see here. I'm going to show y'all a cheater's way of doing this. If you click over here, especially if it's the color applique material, this allows you to pick it really quick. So let's change it to a tan. There we go. And you can leave your line on or off, and you can change it to the same color. There we go. Now let's grab his nose. I'm going to move it up here, and I'm going to select it with the select patterns icon. Change it from not sewn to a fill stitch or a satin stitch. Let's go with a satin for this one. And I'm going to change that to brown. And change the outline to brown as well. And the colors that you've used are right there. Okay, while we're down here with this nose, we may as well go ahead and take care of the overlap that's going to happen. You'll notice I didn't draw around it or anything. I just left it alone. So we're going to come and select these two items together in the sewing order window and click our select patterns icon. Since there is a slight overlap between the two, we're going to say modify overlap, and we're going to tell it to remove the overlap. There you go. So that tan is no longer stitching underneath the black or the brown. Easy, right? Let's come down here and scroll down and grab our bow. Select it. Go to our home tab and applique wizard on it. This time I want that back to a 3 millimeter satin stitch, zigzag stitch. So there's my applique for my bow. And if you decide it's too big, undo, resize the bow itself first. So I'm going to hold my shift key while resizing that down. Shift key just keeps it in its space. It doesn't recalculate stitches or anything like that because it's like we drew it. So it automatically recalculates. The only thing the shift key is doing for me is holding it in its space. So there we go. I'm much happier with the way that one looks. It's not quite as large. Let's do our eyeballs. So let's turn them all on at the same time. We're going to grab select patterns, change it to a satin stitch. Actually, let's change them to a fill. We'll change the other to a satin here in a second. Now we have psychotic looking eyeballs. Let's go to the home tab and zoom out so y'all can see it. Our rabbit's looking like a he-devil. Let's go ahead and grab all of those parts of the rabbit and select them. Go to our shapes tab and let's change to white and to white. There we go. Now we can do the centers of the eye. I'm going to change those from, let's grab the select patterns tool. We're going to change that to black. Actually, I'm going to have that not so. And I'm going to change that to black. Okay. Now, it looks like we're pretty close to being done, except for we need to remove the overlaps from the eyeballs. So let's basically grab all of these parts, click on the Select Patterns icon, go to the Home tab, Modify Overlap, Remove Overlaps. And let's look and see what it looks like in the sequence view. So you can see that my eyeball parts have been removed. And I probably could have done set hole sewing on that instead of remove overlaps. That's up to you, whatever you would like to do. Either one will work. Okay. Now, let's see here. Let's look at it in realistic view. And that's what we've got. Now, I have a programmable fill stitch. I thought I just picked a regular fill stitch, but that programmable fill is kind of fun. This is where you would want to play with your angles. So if you want to have different stitch angles, you go to your sewing attributes and you can adjust your stitch angles if you would like. So let's say we change that one. Let's come grab this piece and let's change him to 90 degrees. And let's see here, what do we want to do? Our eyeballs. So I'm going to grab one eyeball. Actually, I'm fine with that one going that direction. Let's make this one go the opposing direction. Let's go a little bit further. And there you go. Yours is done. Now, one thing I meant to do and forgot to do on mine, if you wanted to, you could come in here and grab your curved line drawing tool and give him some whiskers. These are set to not sew because the last thing that I did was a no sew function. So let's see, turn those on. I'm going to change that to a triple stitch. And let's change the color to black. So you could come in and add yourself some whiskers if you wanted to. Let me come and do one more. Actually, let's just copy and paste those. So we're going to grab these three items right here. I mean, I could have sewn them to where they all stitched together. I just was cheating. We're going to come go to the Home tab, Arrange Copy, and let's do a vertical mirror copy. And watch how that works. When you get it where you want it, left mouse click, and those are set into place. And they're the exact same as the opposite side. That is one of my favorite little features. Now, when you're ready to send it to your machine, you can go send. You can send it to USB, or if you have a network machine on, you can send it to that network machine. And mine is on its way over. Okay, so let me come and answer some questions. We're hunting for a bunny rabbit. There we go. So I did answer that. You copy the right eyeball and cornea and paste it. It didn't work that well just simply because based on the shape that it was. Let's see here what else we've got. So Kelly says 4 millimeters is 0.157 0.48 inches. My number is a whole lot easier to remember than that number. And honestly, guys, it is much more precise to digitize with metric than it is with inches. And in both programs, it is super simple to switch back and forth. If I want to know the size of something, I'm just like you. I want to see it in inches. But learning my settings, it's better to learn your settings in metric than it is in inches. So in PE-DESIGN, to switch between metric and inches, this little button right here, click it. That's metric. Now we're in inches. So if I were to come over and look at one of my settings in inches now, the density on that is 114 lines per inch. If I go back to metric, there it is, 4.5. I like the smaller numbers to remember better than the bigger numbers. In BES, if you want to switch between metric and inches, and simply Appliqué and all of the Pulse products that we carry, metric and English. So metric is your metric, English is your inches. That's how you switch back and forth between the two. So in BES, one of the nice things is, though, is that if you'll notice that the settings that must remain in metric, they stay in metric, but your size down here, you can make your size adjustments in inches. So you don't have to remember to go back and forth between them. Okay. All right, Patricia, if you have an SVG file in your Scan and Cut, you want to know if you can change it to a PES file. You must use software. Which software would you like to use? If you have BES and you don't have any power packs, you can go take that SVG file into Canvas Workspace and export it as an FCM file to use in BES. In PE-DESIGN, there is an SVG import function. Hold on a second, and I will show you that. If you go to the app, let's go to the Home tab. I'm going to go, we'll save this one just because I think he's kind of cute. And let's hit New. Okay. So in PE-DESIGN, import patterns from vector image. This is where you find SVG files. So some work better than others. Just keep that in mind, but that's where you can bring in your SVG files. Oh, let's go this one. It auto digitizes it for you. But you can go in and adjust the angles and the shapes and anything that you want to. It brings it in as a grouped object. So if there's something you want to change, you can ungroup it and then play with it to your heart's delight. You can actually, because it's not in a fixed stitch format. It's just as if you drew it, same as it is if you brought in an FCM file. Okay. Now, Lois, we don't have that option in PE-DESIGN. So if you bring in a background fabric, it's the closest thing that you could do is to bring in an image file as a background, but you're going to see everything in it. So let's see if I can explain what I mean. So let me come up here and let's open up our rabbit again. If I right mouse click on my design page and I say input from file, let me see if I can find some fabric. So let's say I wanted to see what this white fabric looks like. It will be underneath the whole thing. So it's not like it does in BES where you can put tiling in there and where it will do it underneath the whole thing. You can kind of do it, but not really. Okay. So that's the closest that you can come to it. That's why we have multiple programs, because some do different things than others. Any other questions, guys? Okay, Sandra, what was your question that you had that you sent via email? So do y'all still not hear me, or was it just because I was far away? Hopefully you've been able to hear me this whole time. I was stepped away there a little bit, so somebody texted that. So I'm looking to see. what Sandra has. Okay, so Sandra, on the stitch detection portion of the scan and cut, this is probably something that Heather and I should probably talk to you all about in the education connection when we have our scan and cuts up and running. But stitch detection allows you to pick up different parts of the image file. You asked about foiling. There is a foiling kit that you can purchase that has the glue in it as well as some foil sheets. That doesn't mean you're limited to those foil sheets, but you have to use that glue pen. And if my memory comes correctly, it comes with its own holder. So it's going to ask you each time how much glue is left in your pen, and so there's little levels of glue there. And I found that I liked that look better if it was just an outline stitch. I did not particularly care for it if it was all of the stitches. So if I picked stitch detection and I picked the one that was all stitches, I did not like that look for it. I felt like it gave it too much glue, too much. You could try it. I definitely did not like it. It depends on your paper, what you're drawing on. Okay. So that would be one of those things that I would say. You know, that, no, unless you sit and hold it up to it. I mean, you're just going to have that. As far as I know, there's not a way to do that. Let me look and see if we go to edit user thread chart option. Let's see here. Edit user thread chart. Okay. So you could select new chart, and we're just going to call this test. Now, if you know what the red RGB colors are, so we can say edit item. Edit item, and we can mix. And this is where you can mix the RGB colors. Okay, so you technically could, but then you're going to have to, I mean, it's not going to be a color number that you're going to know. You're mixing the actual color, but you've got to have a thread manufacturer that actually has that color. So you can go out and look, but it's not going to be the same. Okay. Because really, yeah, and colors on monitors vary. It may not be what somebody else sees. The Pantone color, if they have a specific color in mind, the Pantone is the standard. But you're really, I mean, most manufacturers are not listing out their RGB values of their threads for you to be able to match it exactly. So there's going to be different ones. Pat, it is one installation on Advanced Quilt Design software, so no, it can't be on 2 computers. Okay. Yeah, pretty much not. So, you know, we all have different, I mean, my suggestion to that person is to match it the closest that they can to the colors that they have, or go find a color in the store and see if the customer likes it before stitching with it. That way, they're actually approving the color before they do their logo. You know, that's really the only way. You've got to get as close to it as possible, but you can't. I mean, that's just not the way threads. I mean, just because you have the RGB value doesn't mean that there's a thread that matches it. Okay, guys. Any other questions? Oops, my scan and cut decided to eject its mat. I had to cut my bunnies out, so I was scanning cutting earlier, and evidently it went to sleep and said it's time to cut, time to spit this out. That you could do that. Now, I would say this: nobody better play with John Deere tractors. Don't bother with that logo. Don't bother with those logos, y'all. Don't mess with the real big peeps, because the big dogs will come and get us. All right. If there is nothing else for the day, then I'm going to say adieu, because I have lots to do. As I said, what we did in BES4 relates to BESBLUE. It relates to simply applique. It does not relate to the initial stitch. Okay. But it will go with the same information, will work from program to program to program. So, all right, guys. Yeah. Yeah. Just take it to the cut there. So, all right. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Remember, I will not be there next week. If you want to join the Education Connection, I'm going to pop it up here again. Make sure that you answer the questions and agree to the rules. Otherwise, you won't get admitted. That's all we ask. And you, as I said, you will not be hearing from Heather and I a lot next week, because we will be extremely busy. And no, it has nothing to do with what might happen come August. We're going to VDTA. So, all right, guys. Y'all have a great time. Hey, if you make some napkin rings, post them. And oh, by the way, Joy, you did a great job with your spinning top. That you did a really nice job on that. You took the information that I shared and ran with it. So thank you very much for sharing that on my page. So you all, guys, how dare we do other work? I know. Well, the funny thing is that last year we were for 2 years we've been home for the most part, but now we're starting to travel again. So, all right, y'all have a great rest of the week. Have a happy Easter if you celebrate Easter. And I will see you in 2 weeks. Actually, on that day, I'll see you twice. So have a good one. Bye-bye.